Good evening and welcome. Tonight we will be going over the history and geography of the Bay Islands in Honduras. Or I guess outside of Honduras. It's not in Honduras, it's their islands. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. The Bay Islands are, as you can see here, the Islas de la Bahia. Islas de la Bahia. As you can see on my map here, there are three main islands, and they are Utila, Roatán, and Guanaja. There are also little smaller islands you can see right there, and little keys also around, but those are the three main ones. These islands are part of the Mesoamerican Barrier Reef, which, of course, after the Great Barrier Reef in Australia, is the second largest coral reef in the world. Isn't that spectacular? Which means that this area is very well known for snorkeling and diving to see all of the wonders under the waters, all of the beautiful coral and fish, turtles, etc. It's remarkable from the videos I've seen. The capital is right here. This is Coxon Hole, and mainly the island of Roatán, but there's a bit on the other islands, is just an absolute tourist trap. There are ports for cruise ships here, so you can find all manner of just Caribbean cruise activities all throughout the island, and we'll take a look at some of them on Google Earth. So mainly, if you're visiting here, you're coming for, laying on the beach, having fruity tropical drinks, you're doing zip lines, so on and so forth. And you're most likely, making landfall. What is it called? Like port, whatever it is, if you're on a cruise ship is what I'm trying to say. Most of the visitors here are stopping over for the day on their Caribbean cruise. That's what I'm trying to say. Port of call, that's what I was trying to say. It's a port of call. But let's talk about the history of these islands, because it's actually incredibly fascinating. A lot happened here. So the indigenous peoples that lived on these islands, mainly Roatán, the other islands were kind of like fishing areas, and this was the main area, from what we can understand. They were called the Paya, or I saw a source that called them the Petch, Native Americans. And they did not have writing, so we don't know too much about these peoples, but we have found many artifacts from these times. Not to mention, they made contact with none other than Christopher Columbus in 1502 on the island of Guanaja. Very famously, it did not go well for either party. Columbus went back to Spain and told his buddies Ferdinand and Isabella that the people on these islands were cannibals and extremely dangerous, which, from what we can understand, they were definitely not. But that gave Spain, by their legal definition, the right to come and take these people as slaves and take over their land, and that they certainly did. The people here, if they weren't kidnapped or killed by the Spaniards, they passed away from the diseases that they brought, which is, of course, desperately sad. Now, the Spanish, tried to turn this into farming for things like cotton, but there was a big problem in this area, and that was very famously the pirates of the Caribbean. By the way, at least in American English, it can be Caribbean or Caribbean. Both pronunciations are perfectly fine. There was a pirate problem here. It started off with the buccaneers. Originally, buccaneers, getting their name from the French word for barbecue, were kind of shady, notorious people. not to be terribly trusted, but they made their income from capturing wild game on the islands, barbecuing them, and selling them to sailors who were coming and going from Europe. They would slowly morph into piracy, essentially, to the point where buccaneers just synonymous with pirates. They were a shady bunch. Eventually, they would deliberately go into the Spanish cattle ranches, kidnap the cows, fry them up, and serve them to Spanish sailors unknowingly. What a grift. But probably the most famous pirate to come to this island was Henry Morgan, as in Captain Morgan. We all know he had a base on Roatán for a while. And this was, of course, a huge problem for the Spanish, because, oh boy, did the pirates really go after the Spanish and try to steal their loot. It became a big issue, and the British were also around in the Caribbean to try to put a stop to the piracy. Not terribly successfully. The British established a colony on Roatán in 1638. Again, the pirates were kind of a problem. They ravaged the little town. It was not the safest place to be. Not to mention just the conflict, not just because of the pirates, but the conflict between Spain and Britain over who should be the ones to control this island. It went very much back and forth. There was actually a large battle in 1782, the Battle of Roatán, which was actually part of the American Revolutionary War, because Spain at this point decided to side with the Americans and use that as an excuse to fight off the British from the island. Interesting, I think. But eventually, Spain would just cut their losses and give up on the islands. The piracy and the British were just too much of an issue, too much of a headache. They had many other profitable areas around Central America and the Caribbean. And they headed off for those. So the British really started to ramp up activities here. Beginning in 1797, they actually used the islands as a penal colony for people known as the Garifuna, which we've talked about in a couple of videos about Honduras and St. Vincent, actually. Once upon a time, a slave ship wrecked off the coast of St. Vincent, which is way over there in the Caribbean. The slaves escaped to the island where they met the local Caribs. One thing led to another. You have a new culture born, known as the Garifuna. When the British took over St. Vincent, the Garifuna were a problem. They were arrested and sent to the islands here. And there is still a large Garifuna population to this day. And even the Garifuna language is still spoken. Garifuna food is served, so on and so forth on the islands here. In 1835, colonization increased, and that was due to two things. The British controlled the Cayman Islands, and they still do today. And there are many settlers there who had some issues. One, the topsoil was being ruined by the cotton plantations, and there was no new land to expand out to. And two, in 1834, slavery was abolished in the Slavery Abolition Act. So now there were even more settlers who wanted land on the Cayman Islands, now that they were freed slaves. So many British on the Cayman Islands moved to mainly Roatán and resettled here. And many of those original families can still be found on all three islands, to be honest. This is when they established Cox and Hull and expanded their business, and eventually the islands would be annexed to Britain in 1852. So in the conflict between the Spanish and the British would win out. But not for long. Things were going so well on the island that the people here were like, hey, we should be a full-on colony. give us more rights and probably make this place more profitable for us. And Britain was, of course, like, yeah, we're on board. But who wasn't on board was the United States. They had signed, from what I read, from what I understand, they signed an agreement with Great Britain, which was the agreement that would lead to the creation of the Panama Canal. And part of that agreement was that both countries would not establish any new colonies in Central America and the Caribbean. So the United States was like, oh, no, no, no. No, you don't. You are not allowed to create a colony here. So Britain, with their hands tied, decided to just cede the islands to Honduras in 1859. The British living here were not pleased about that, but, suck it up, buttercup. That is the fact of life there. So now the islands are part of Honduras. They even tried to get William Walker involved, which, if you don't know William Walker, just like, we were talking about this earlier this week and last week, talking about Gustavus Adolphus, a mad lad of history. William Walker was just an a-hole of history. Let's just say that. Boo, William Walker. He was a walking disaster. Let's put it that way. He was eventually murdered in Honduras for trying to be a horrible colonizer. But that's not quite the story of the islands. That's the story of Central America. So we'll move on from that. The area wouldn't really prosper until the 1990s, when the tourism industry really started to take over Roatán, and we get all of the wonderful gimmicky tour stuff that we have today. Sometimes it's charming, right? Just gimmicky tour stuff is sometimes really sweet and pleasant. I think it's neat. There were two large problems with this in the islands, though. In 1998, Hurricane Mitch hit the islands. It wasn't quite as destructive to Roatán, but it was very destructive for the other two islands and the people living there. It took a while for their economies to bounce back, and mainly it was leaning more into tourism, not the gimmicky tourism, but like snorkeling, diving, hiking in the wilderness on these islands, almost like ecotourism in a way. The other issue was, of course, the COVID pandemic in 2020 really devastated the tourism industry. It wasn't so much that the virus was ravaging the islands, it was the economy plummeted. And again, Roatán was fine by 2021. It was allowed to reopen and allow people to come visit, but it was the other two islands that really felt the effects, and from what I understand, are still trying to bounce back from that recession, essentially, today. And that, in a nutshell, is the history of the Bay Islands. I think that we should head over to Google Earth and check out these beautiful islands for ourselves. And you can see what I mean by gimmicky tour stuff that I just think is actually really charming. Let's go check it out. Here we are in the Bay Islands department. But let's start by zooming out so you can see exactly where we are in the world. Here's Honduras, kind of in the center of Central America, easy to find. Central America, of course, being these countries here: Guatemala, Belize, El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama. Mexico is considered part of North America, not so much Central America. And then, of course, the beautiful Caribbean Sea is right here. All of the wonderful islands associated with it. But here are the Bay Islands. So I guess we just start off in good old Roatán, shouldn't we? Here is Cox and Hole. I'm actually going to turn off okay, making sure the everything filter is not on just yet, because there is a lot of everything here. You can see some cruise ships docked here. Look at that. And our little capital city here. There's a shipwreck right here. Oops. Not a lot, but Interesting. There are actually some really neat shipwreck dives around the islands you can go to, but I couldn't find any photos of them. No one took any underwater photos, which is unfortunate. This island is fun in terms of kitschy tourist stuff. Maya Key. It's possible the Maya lived on these islands. I think there's some evidence of it. But sweet bird, scarlet macaw. It's actually the national bird of Honduras. But here they've set up some Mayan relics and ruins for you to explore the wilderness. And there's some sweet birds, parrots, a jaguar, and beautiful beaches. So yeah, you can see some cool Mayan stuff. Whether they're authentic or not, probably not. But it's still fun, isn't it? Beautiful pool. It seems luxurious on this island. There's a warthog. Or maybe a peccary. Probably a peccary. They don't have warthogs in the Western Hemisphere. Coxon Hall. Let's see, there's another little Maya-themed park right there. Let's see what we can find in this town. Big old cruise ship here. And very, quaint little town. But again, it is a touristy town, so it's full of tourist shops, tourist activities, photo ops, vacation, tour agencies, things like that. Look at these cool little big bridges, boardwalks around the water. And it's just a fun place to come hang out. Some cool historic buildings as well. Like I said, there are still many descendants from the original British settlers. And actually, English is very widely spoken on these islands, particularly Roatán, because English was the main language until the islands were given to Honduras. And, more Hondurans would move to the islands and they started teaching Spanish in schools. So there is, of course, lots of Spanish spoken here, but there's also lots of English and Creole as well. Let's see, here's a town called West Bay over here, which is just another little beachy, touristy place for you to enjoy. Nice hotels and, of course, the gorgeous ocean, old lighthouse there. It's so beautiful. Big old cruise ship docking. And we get lots of, let's look at the fun touristy things now. Stuff like these parks, the Untamed Roatán. Let's see what we can find here. We got lots of sloths and parrots in a lot of these parks. There's sweet monkeys, beautiful butterflies, an iguana friend. Yeah, there's another tourist spot. Let me go find it. Up here somewhere on this side that had, I might need to put the everything filter on, that had loads of sloths. Maybe I've passed it. Look at Lenca World. Hold on, let me see, because the Lenca were another indigenous group that probably also lived on these islands. But it just seems like a Lenca themed resort. Yeah, theme park. Fun touristy stuff, pools and water slides, donkey rides, restaurants, live shows. Fun touristy things. Oh, look, an old mission and everything. Wow. Going all out. You can see if they everything filter on all the hotels and little dive bars and such. Adventures and zip lines. Let's see. I want to try to find. Oh, that's really pretty. Hold on. Let's look at this real quick. Another beautiful beach. Oh boy, just another beach, right? Oh, humdrum. So there's another zip line up there. I don't remember where it was. Somewhere up here, but another theme park that was just full of sloths all over the place. They really enjoyed their sloths here. Along with lots of parrots, because you can put a parrot on your arm and take a photo. There's lots of places where you can swim with dolphins. Kitschy touristy stuff like that. Dune buggy eco jungle tours. Hold on, that sounds like fun. They're having a great time. I haven't seen the slideshow. Let's check out this. That's a fun activity. I hope it's not too loud and destructive because dune buggies like that get kind of smelly, if you know what I mean, the ATVs. But it's all kinds of gorgeous, isn't it? There's French Harbor, another town there. Can see more restaurants. Little French Key. Let's check that out. Boom. Thank you. Little French Key, little bungalows out on the water. So yeah, a little pool bar there so you can swim around and get your drinks. There's another Jaguar. Lots of fun touristy stuff to do. There is, it's impossible to not have anything to do on this island. He's going canoeing, kayaking, peacocks. White peacock too, with this tiny white peacock. Oh, that's a chicken. Yeah, there is far too many things to do on this island, isn't there? So much. Here's an iguana and marine park. Let's check that out. Oh, here we go. Monkeys and sloths. Let's look at both. Just a little bit. There's mantas. An underwater photo. I've been looking for these. But lots of iguana friends just all over the place. Lots of little sharky friends, fishy friends, maybe. Iguana Reserve. Hello. So cute. Then let's see, monkeys and sloths. Who doesn't love monkeys and sloths? How cute. And a beautiful macaw. And a little sweet monkey. Parrots. Sloths. These, what are these? Guinea pigs? They look like guinea pigs. I think they are. Or something. Yeah, how wild. She's having a great time. How cute. Put a monkey on your head. Capuchin, that's what they're called. Capuchins. They're like, how cute. My goodness. So yeah, there's far too many things to do. There's a Pirates of the Caribbean zipline. Let's look at that real quick. Last thing we'll look at. I want to see what makes it a Pirates of the Caribbean zipline. I will never do this. I would be sobbing. I would not enjoy a second of that experience. And there's zip lines in the town where I live now, and absolutely not. There's that park again. Absolutely not. Not for me. But I understand the appeal. It sounds like fun. Oh, gorgeous. Little bar there. But yeah, there is far too many things to do on this island. You can see the coral there. That's so remarkable. Why don't we go check out Utila? See what we can find. Not many people live on the other two islands, but like I said, there are things to do. Like here's Los Cayitos. There's no pictures, sadly. The dive center, I think. Yeah, this one. Oh, maybe I haven't seen the slideshow. Let's see if they have any underwater photos, because most of the dive sites, perfect, I found one finally. Most of the dive pictures are people like above the water about to dive, and I was like, I want pictures under the water. We got some bottlenose dolphins there. Heading out on the boat. Beautiful sunset there. Yeah, most of the pictures are things like that. The people about to go under the water. I want to see under the water and see the beautiful coral and all of the life that lives around there. Oh, wow. A night dive would be spectacular, wouldn't it? That would be something else. Let's look at this bay. Nothing there. Yeah, it seems like most of the pictures are just kind of the same thing over and over again, which they're all beautiful, don't get me wrong, but I want to see other things as well. But like, stunning. Stunning, stunning, stunning. Yeah, it's almost winter time here in Idaho, and now this is making me crave for summer again. Oh well. I've never seen that before. That didn't pop up before. Let's see what we've got here. Then we'll go look at the other island. There's another iguana. A little cabin here out in the jungle. See, that's what I'm trying to see. Something different we haven't seen yet. Explore the jungles here. Ooh, a big moth. Right. So yes, more tourist stuff over here. Let's just look at the slideshow real quick. And then we'll go check out the other island. All very beautiful and lush. And fun to explore, of course. Okay, let's go see. One last island tonight. I know, we all want more beautiful Caribbean islands, but I would always encourage you to hop on Google Earth yourself and explore not just these islands, but the rest of the tiny islands around the Caribbean, so you can get those fun summer vibes. Look how packed this island is. There is no space for anything there. Wow, that's interesting. Yeah. Wow, that is a busy island. Let's see. What shall we look at over here? Maybe this beach. The End of the World Resort. We might have to check that out. That sounds fun. But yes, more gorgeous beaches. Ooh, we'll check this out, this channel. Lots of things popping up that didn't pop up before. Lovely resort here. There's the bar, there's the ocean, there's the coral. Here we go. Fantastic. This is what I was trying to see. Underwater shots. I need to get my scuba license so that I can do this someday. I absolutely must. That is a definite thing I have to do. Get some delicious food that looks like lobster. How cute. They're going snorkeling. And you drink it out of a coconut. Forgot to mention that agriculture was the big business on this island before the tourism began. Now it's just overwhelming. Oh, bummer. No pictures on this little, I guess, channel, yeah, between the coral. Let's see, mangrove bite. There we go. Let's explore this and then we'll end the video. Oh, gorgeous. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this style of content, please consider subscribing. You're not going to want to miss the next video because we are heading to New Zealand. Of course, New Zealand is one of the most beautiful places on planet Earth. So we're going to see some incredible photos on Google Earth. Not to mention, we are going to Rotorua, which is the most volcanically active town in the world. The only place that's more volcanically active is Yellowstone, which is not a town. So Rotorua is the most seismically active town in the world. And by that, I mean hot springs, geysers, volcanoes, earthquakes, all kinds of geothermal activity happening almost daily. So be sure to subscribe so you won't miss out. If you learned something new in this video, give this video a thumbs up. Let me know what you learned down in the comments. I hope that you found this video to be relaxing and educational. I know I found it so relaxing. So did that eagle. And I hope that a peregrine falcon, I'm not sure. And I hope that you have a good night. Good night. Good night. Good night. Good night.